All right, welcome to the Sweet Talk. Today is Monday, March 1st, 2021. And I am your host, Kim Matina, and I am a Google certified trainer and educator, as well as a technology teacher at the Galloway Township Middle School. And today I am so happy to have on the show Mr. Ron Nober. How are you, Ron?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, I'm
You
so
were
happy to have you on. It's really a great honor to have you on. Ron, you come to the Sweet Talk from New Jersey, and I know you're a technology STEAM teacher for grades 3 through 8, and you have a great interest in SDGs, which I just found out what they were, which are Sustainable Development Goals, which we're going to talk about later.
sure. Yeah.
Design thinking, using technology for social good. He's also a co-host for the Teacher Nerds podcast, so check
Yes.
that out as well. So, welcome to the show, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me. Such an important topic that we, picked to talk about. So, yeah, I'm coming from Southampton, New Jersey. And Kim, I don't know if you realize you came and did training for us when we first started using Google.
Yeah, I remember that. That
Yep.
was a long time
Yeah, it was a
ago.
while ago.
Yeah, that was fun. That's I met you then, and then I'm like, I think that's the same guy.
Yep. I had
And then
just started
turned out,
teaching technology.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So see, it's a small world.
Yeah,
When you're in New Jersey, you kind of bump into people all over the place.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I'm so happy that you're going to be on today, Ron, because you're going to talk about like remote teaching and teacher mental health during this time in education. If you're an educator anywhere throughout like the country or even the world, we're all doing things so differently, and we're all affected by it somehow or another. It might be, might not impact you as much as somebody else, but it's definitely making a big difference in how you teach, your day to day routines, your personal life, your stress level is
Yeah.
maxed out. So, to talk about this at this time is so important. And I really appreciate you being taking the time to talk about this. And I think it's so important. And if it can help somebody else, just know that you're not alone. Then
Right.
we accomplished something, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's it. Like I've been, putting this out there on Twitter and, about kind of the struggles that I'm going through and basically just letting, again, people know you're not alone. Like I'm not a mental health professional. Right. But I know, I'm feeling things that I've never felt in all my years of teaching. Right. I'm doing things differently. Connections that I usually have, aren't there. I feel lucky. I am teaching 100% remotely, but I am teaching remotely to students who are in the building and students who are at home learning remotely. So, my district was great. They gave me exactly what I asked for in terms of having a teaching position that was remote because I'm immune compromised. My wife's immune compromised. We helped take care of my 89-year-old grandmother or mother-in-law. Um, it was just something that I needed to do. And I was to the point where I was either going to do this or I was going to take an unpaid leave of absence. And they were great. They, gave me the position. They brought a sub into the building that now goes room to room where I would be. And really they've done all they can to support us, or at least again support me. I've gotten notes from parents about things that I'm doing and how thankful they are, but I still have that overwhelming kind of feeling and that anxiousness almost, you know, on a weekly basis, if not sometimes on a daily basis, before school in the morning, anxious, my stomach's upset, I can feel my heart beat, rise. I can feel, that I'm breathing heavier, and it's just there's a lot going on, and I think for people to feel or know that they're not alone out there, and that there are other people feeling this way, and you know I feel like I know all the things to do too. I meditate, right? My wife and I got married in a Zen monastery here in New Jersey. Like I do these things, and I'm still feeling this way.
It's interesting because, as I go through Twitter during the daytime, you had tweeted an article, and it's called An Incomplete List of Things That Don't Help Me as a Teacher Right Now.
Yep.
And that's what I was just looking for while you were speaking. And I read it, and I'm saying to myself, that is so accurate. So you can pick up a hobby, do crocheting or listen to music or exercise or eat right, and you still feel like you're defeated, like you're drowning. And,
Yeah.
this is not normal,
Right.
So I don't know what the right answer is, because I am feeling it myself. Like it's day to day with me. Sometimes I just have a good day. Today was a good day. I got up,
Right.
I went to work. Although today is virtual Mondays, there's nobody in the building. I go in, but I had a good day today. Tomorrow, we'll see what happens. But there's some days I'm being totally honest. Like it's really hard. Like sometimes I'm crying and I don't know why I'm crying.
Right.
It's just like, what's wrong? Like it's just not like my role this year at my school is a virtual learning specialist. So I'm not even teaching kids this year. So as much as I'm thankful I have a job and I'm so grateful for my job, I took a whole different role, and I'm supporting the teachers so that they can be successful with their students, helping them with, any technical difficulties, really troubleshooting, ed tech, providing trainings, video tutorials, best practices, really more in a support role.
Right.
So I go to school, I stay in my classroom all day by myself, unless I need to, walk out and help somebody. But a lot of my trainings are on Zoom.
Yep.
Because you can't interact with people like we're used to.
Right.
It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And if we're feeling it as adults, I'm not sure how the kids are feeling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah. I want, and that's, I think, some of the stress that we all probably feel is that wondering how the kids are doing, because you can't always have that check in with them, or you might wonder, well, what is that one kid doing that I'm worried about, or how are things going? I haven't seen them in class over a few days, and you wonder about them, and part of those connections aren't there. And I think so many of us, you get into teaching because obviously you want to help, and you want to help students learn, but it's also those personal connections, whether it's with your fellow teachers or just with the students in the hallways, the fist bumps or the high fives or the all those things that we miss, just the smile. And I imagine even teachers who are in school, the smile is gone, right? Like you have a mask on, so you're missing that smile. And sometimes that's all a student needs, is just that one smile from you or that fist bump. It's hard, especially again for me being remote. It's hard to get that same connection. I do a lot of. I don't mind being silly. When I teach, like I'll put stickers on my face to get students to turn their cameras on or to engage a little more. Every time somebody, gives an answer, I'll stick a sticker on my head and I got lots of real estate on the head there. So there's a lot of stickers at times, but I'll also, like, I do beard color Fridays, one day, or on Thursdays, I let one class choose what color my beard's going to be. And I'll dye it Friday morning for that day. I'm trying to find different things that will help make those connections and make those personal, connections with the kids, because you don't have the other normal day-to-day things that you would have.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe it's a year already. Like,
Right.
And it's just, I remember last year when things closed, I said, oh, it's only going to be for, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's not going to last. And before you know it, we're closed. Like, it's
Right.
normal day. We're still closed. And, I remember everybody was just like, I was providing trainings twice a day to staff remotely. And I remember my friend Bruce Reicher, Bruce.
Yeah, I know Bruce.
He says, Kim, he goes, we're in this for a long haul. He goes,
Yeah.
it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So, just try to, like, balance, you have
Right.
to know how to balance. And when he told me that, I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense, and then here we are a year later, we're still trying to get through one day at a time. And then,
Right.
Before you know it, it's Friday. And then, you just, it's really, I don't feel like motivated as much as I used to be. I know teachers aren't motivated. They're just kind of going through the motions to get through what they need to do.
Right.
It's rough right now. It's
Yeah.
really rough. So I don't know, like you said, like, I'm not a mental specialist. I'm just feeling it like you are,
Right.
The demand is just so overwhelming.
Well, and every teacher, no matter what, is like a first-year teacher, right? Because
Yeah.
nobody's ever done this before. And I think one thing, like you were saying, day to day is different, right? Some days it's a good day, some days it's a rough day. And what I've found for myself is it's almost the anticipation of the start of the day, because I don't know what it's going to be like. Once I get into rolling through the day and I go through my first class and I'm just rolling, it gets a little easier and I feel a little bit of weight taken off of my shoulders. And part of that is this year I am not pushing myself just to get through content. I'm going for quality over quantity. Really, if I get, where normally I might have in a giving marking period with a set of students, I might have maybe 4 or 5 projects. If I get to 3, but we really dove into those 3, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I think you have to expect that, because everything just takes longer. There's more variables in the equation now that weren't there before. And I think that's just to be expected. And I would hope that carries on to the core subjects as well. Like you, I'm a special area teacher too. But I don't know. I don't really know, what they're really, how much they're really covering. I just can't see them really covering the whole curriculum.
Well, they can't. And I think that's probably why, there's a lot of stress for those, like you said, the core content teachers, because, there is still this, it's hanging over the head there is standardized testing, right? They're still talking about standardized testing as if we're not teaching in the middle of a pandemic, as if there are not almost daily technical difficulties. And, we can't be testing and expecting the same results based on just what is a kind of a fake standard that somebody just said that this is where you should be by 4th grade, right? Like, you keep seeing things about students being behind. And I love Ira Sokol is a former teacher and former administrator from Virginia who I follow. And, it's kind of like, behind what? Like the standard that we're holding everybody to is just some standard that somebody said, hey, by fourth grade, you should be here. But you have all these kids who, like, I have third graders troubleshooting technical difficulties in a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet, or saying to me, hey, Mr. Nober, the way you're doing that's not really working for me. Can I try it in this way? So there are all these skills that they have gained,
Yeah.
right? In maneuvering through multiple tabs on a screen, knowing how to use all the keyboard shortcuts on a Chromebook, being able to just kind of speak for themselves and saying, hey, this isn't working for me. Can I try it this way? Or making suggestions about, hey, Mr. Nober, can we do this on a Jamboard? Or, something like that, yeah, they may not be to the standard that somebody set as, hey, here's what you should be by third or fourth grade, but they've made gains that students haven't made ever, just because of the situation we're in. And some of those are important skills.
Yeah, and honestly, like, to piggyback off that, some students are really excelling in this environment.
Exactly.
They're not being distracted by other things going on around them. There's no discipline issues. I've heard a lot of students really excelling. They can't believe how well they're doing. So maybe this online teaching, maybe it's not going to go away. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like an alternative option,
right,
for schools to offer students. I don't know, but it's not all bad. It's just that the way we were all thrown into it,
right,
was not good.
Right. It was you were, like I said before, I mean, you were like, you were a first year teacher. No matter if you had been teaching for 25 years, you were back to square one, because you had to figure out how to do it over a Zoom and get that same point across. And I think everybody, part of the anxiety or stress that may be there is, you're constantly, or at least myself, I'm constantly questioning, is what I'm doing good enough? Right. Yeah. For my students, am I making those connections? As a technology and STEAM teacher, I have a lot of amazing tools in my lab that I don't have access to. Yeah. I mean, my district has been amazing. I said, can I bring a 3D printer home? And they let me bring a 3D printer home. So when students do design something, I will print it out. And again, I live in the same district where I teach. So I will, at lunchtime, I'll drive prints to people's houses and drop them off in their mailbox. The next morning, I'll drive prints to school and leave them for the substitute who's there for me. But it's still not, the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
But I am fortunate. And I think the other thing, stress-wise, that for me, again, just speaking for myself, I think there was almost a perfect storm of, we had the pandemic, and then you had a lot of political upheaval come about, right? You had things that I would normally consider like, I guess, like I call sandbox things, right? Things that you learned as a child in the sandbox become political. Like just treating people nicely all of a sudden became kind of political. And you almost felt like sometimes you had to watch what you were saying, because I don't want to, throw my political views onto students, but, being kind, treating people with respect and empathy, it shouldn't be political.
Every day, right?
Right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Or even, as a technology teacher, science.
Digital citizenship.
Right.
Like,
all science.
being a good citizen.
Exactly. Right. Like, and science all of a sudden becomes political, right? Like whether it's global warming, and that was global climate change, that has been out there as a little bit of a political thing, but like just wearing a mask, became political, but it's backed by science. And, even vaccine information it's backed by science, but there's a political debate over it. So I think that on top of having a pandemic and teaching in the pandemic, it's just this huge weight that, has come down on a lot of us. And a lot of us feel that way because, in the end, like you said, we're also about teaching students to be just good people and good citizens. So that I think had a lot of influence on, for me anyway, the anxiousness and the anxiety, that I've felt is some of that, as well as the pandemic and the connections and things like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that definitely makes a lot of sense to me because I think I did feel a little relieved after certain things happened as well. But I also find that social media can be toxic sometimes
Yep.
as well. And I started to back off a little bit from that, putting timers on and just turning off my phone earlier
Right.
and earlier every day.
Yeah. Scheduling tweets out. Yeah.
I don't know, like what, and I'm being honest. Like, I
Right.
think that's totally, um, you know, we're being honest here. And that's what, I think it's important, we're people with real feelings and,
Yeah.
being honest is key. And, I think that has a lot to do with it. And like in February, I actually had to reschedule a few of my shows because of the weather, and it ended up being a blessing in disguise because I needed to regroup.
Right.
Everything going on, and it's a balancing act. Like that article said, like you can eat right and exercise and take your dog for a walk and meditate and listen to music and keep
Yep.
the TV off and still feel stressed and or depressed, and you still have to get up and go to work the next day and deal with it. So I think everybody has to find their own niche and
Right.
just try to deal with it the best they can. Like I just try to take one day at a time at this point or another, and just try to get through each day. And then before you know it, it's the end of the week. I don't know, what what is the answer to that article that you tweeted? Actually, I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
it's
know what the
Tom
answer is.
Rademacher, who is,
Yeah,
he wrote the book It Won't Be Easy, which is just that book reminds me of a mix between like Seinfeld, The Office, and the Goldbergs, all
yeah,
around teaching. It's a really good book. And yeah, I mean, he had a list of things. And as I was looking at those things, I was kind of saying, yep, I've done that.
yeah.
Yep. Have
It's
done
so
that.
and it's like, and honestly, Joe, I feel like you. Like I'm very grateful and thankful. Like my district has accommodated, staff as well. We don't have to, we're all working hard, and they know it. They can see
Right.
what teachers are posting in, digitally, and they didn't require us to do lesson plans this year,
Wow, that's good.
which that's it's a huge a huge task. They relaxed us on the dress code, like
Right.
so, they're just trying to make it a little bit easier on the teachers too because they understand, and I appreciate that, but it's still it's hard. It's really hard. Like I started counting down the days now till spring
Yeah.
break.
Right. Yep.
you
Yeah.
know,
And I think,
I don't know.
yeah, I think you also have to there is that list that Tom Rademacher put, and maybe, you have to move from one to the, there is no one fits, but you have to, some days it's going to be exercise that, clears your head. Some days it is going to be, doing a meditation, or like you said, just kind of turning off the phone, or taking a little bit more time to get some work done. Or some days it's going to be doing less work that day. Um, you know, Eating something special that day. I think he had put donuts. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be a combination of everything. And sometimes, from my understanding and my work in Zen is sometimes just sitting and realizing it's okay to not be okay. Because I had a hard time. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", 260 pounds. Like, I'm a big guy, bald, big goatee, right? I start to beat myself up and go, really? You're getting anxious about going and doing lessons with 3rd to 8th graders? What is wrong with you? And, so then you get that negative tape playing in your head, and you get, so it just builds and builds. And sometimes you just have to sit back and go, you know what? It's okay to just not be okay today.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to show it to the students, and I do a good job of leaving it off of the screen or anything that I do with the kids. But when I shut down my computer for the day, or, I leave my office, I'm okay with just saying, you know what? I just don't feel okay today. Like, it wasn't a great day.
Why do we feel guilty? Like, why do we give ourselves that? To me, that's a guilt trip. Like,
Sure.
I don't know why. Like, I do the same thing. Like, I always second guess myself, and I'm like, that wasn't as good. I could have did better. Or, I always critique myself, and I always put what I did down. And I'm
Right.
like, why do I do that? And then I start feeling guilty. And like you said, it's okay. Like, I think we just have to accept it.
Right.
It is what it is, and then and then just kind of roll with it and then move on. Like, I don't think dwelling on it and putting ourselves down is going to help our mental health at this point or another.
Right. And I mean, but like, as a teacher, it's always good to be reflecting, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to do. But I think it's even more magnified this year than it's been in the past. Like, I always say marking period guilt, right? Like, what I did with my 8th graders' first marking period definitely changes second marking period, and it more improved third marking period. So I've always had that, but
Yeah.
I think it's magnified.
Yeah, I think so. Because I'm like you, like, I'll reflect, I'll change things from one period to the next period. Like,
Right.
that's how we learn and we grow, and you make things better. But this year, I don't know what it is. It's just, I think, like you said, with everything going on around us, and then having the environment that we're in, it's just not a positive workplace. It's definitely, it's isolated.
Right. And it's nobody's fault,
No,
right? Like, that's the other thing. Like, every administrator is, I think, doing the best they possibly can.
Everybody is, yeah.
Right. And it's, like I said, it's nobody's fault. But I think, the other thing is that I think part of the reason with the guilt maybe also is, as a country, I don't think we have a great view of mental health, right? Like, mental health has always been pushed aside, or you don't want to talk about it, or you never want to say I'm struggling. And I think, I've come to the point where, I am going to be talking to a therapist, like, because it is something that is important, and to sometimes just be able to talk about it is enough, just to release that off of your shoulders and to get a different perspective. And my wife's great to talk to, but you don't always want to be unloading on your significant others either.
Sometimes you need a third party.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And somebody who's just to listen, isn't, isn't trying to give you a solution or anything like that, but is someone who is just there to listen and then maybe give kind of a, just their opinion a little bit later, or sometimes it's just listen.
Yeah.
So I have reached out, and I'm, making an appointment with a therapist, someone to talk to.
Well,
And
that's
it's,
good. Glad
you
you
know,
are.
not just this, like I said, not just teaching, but teaching, politics, all the things that I've felt that
Yeah.
pressure this year.
Yeah. I'm finding myself in the past 2 months, like I'm just not motivated. And
Right.
I'll do my job. I'm not talking about my job. I'm just talking about like just being motivated to do anything. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do the laundry tomorrow. And I've
Right.
never been like that, and I just, I sometimes I don't even want to do, it's a sweet talk show. I'm
Yeah.
not motivated,
Yep.
I just, like today I was happy to do it because it was the first one I had scheduled in 2.5, 3 weeks. So it was good, but sometimes I don't even want to do anything on the computer that I need to get done. I just
Right.
don't want to do it, and that's not me at all.
And I think again, it's just been that perfect storm.
Yeah, it's like I'm fighting against myself,
Yep.
and that fight within me is just it's eating me up inside. It's exhausting me.
Yeah.
It's making me like have a headache.
Yep.
It really, it's just, it's like I said, it's day to day.
Yeah.
It really is. It's the struggle's real,
Yeah.
and it's we're both being honest and frank with each other. And it's, I think we have to look at that and admit it and then go to the next
Yep.
step or the next level,
Yeah. And you have to just, like you said, be able to say, all right, yeah, I am struggling. It is okay to not be okay. And these are some things that I'm going to try. And if it does mean that I'm going to talk to someone professionally, so be it. I'm going to talk to someone professionally. I don't, I know you're in Jersey like I am, and I think the
The
snow definitely played a huge part. Like it was gray and snow covered for weeks,
Yeah.
where we haven't had that type of snow coverage again in a long, in quite a few years. And again, that on top of pandemic, politics, everything,
Yeah.
it's like that perfect storm of things that can just get you down. I mean, the other day when it was, sunny and like 57, my mood was definitely different.
Definitely different. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I get the winter blues to begin with anyway,
Right.
Without all this other stuff going on, and then throw that on top of everything else.
Yeah.
That's why I get up sometimes and I start crying.
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying.
Right.
I'm happily married. I have a healthy family. My son just got married. Like I have nothing to be, I have everything in the world to be thankful for. It's just, it's me. Like I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. But then, like when the sun came out the other day, I took the dog for a walk. I felt
Right.
like, oh, okay, like this is a little different feeling now. So the weather definitely did play a factor, at least for me. It's crazy how something like that can really affect your mental health
Right.
too.
And I think the one thing you mentioned there that, again, is important to keep in mind is, people, you have that mentality of like, it could be worse, right? Like there are a lot of people who have it worse off than me. That doesn't mean that you're not feeling it, right? Like, so, like people will say to you like, oh, why are you feeling bad? Why do you've got a job, you've got your health. I haven't personally, anybody in my family been touched by COVID, right? Like I haven't had anybody but it doesn't mean that I'm still not feeling what I feel. So that idea of, well, how can you be that bothered if everything's going well? You have to also give yourself that too. Again, it's okay not to be okay, even if things could be worse.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. I'm so glad that we had the chance to talk about this because
Yeah.
I think, like, you know, we're going through it, but we're talking about it, and it's definitely helpful to us.
Yep.
But hopefully, it'll help somebody else. Maybe they can talk about it with their friend or with their
Yeah.
family member, and maybe try different things. But just to know that you're not alone and that we're all in this together,
Yep.
really feel sometimes that's all you need to hear. The other day, I was actually talking to Bruce Reicher,
Yeah.
and he's like, Kim, we're all going through it. We're all in this together. We're all going through it. Everybody's role changed to some degree, and he was telling me about his whole role change too. He's
Right.
teaching remotely, and he hasn't done a live show because
Right. He's been a year, I think, almost since he hasn't done a live morning show.
Right. So, but it's sometimes it's, I don't know. It's not like, I guess it's kind of I don't want to say it like this, but I don't know how else to say it. But it's kind of reassuring to hear
Sure.
other people's stories to kind of validate what you're feeling too.
Right. Exactly.
And when he was telling me all that, because his role changed, my role changed, and we were just talking, and I'm like, all right, well then, it's not that bad. It can't be that bad, because we're all in it, feeling it together,
Right.
Um, I did feel better after speaking to him, but it's just, I just want the school year to be over now. Like, I'm done.
Well, yeah, and that's it. Like we'll get through this year, and I really, my hope is September. I hope we have lots of people have been vaccinated and we can get back in school. I'm even happy to go back in school and wear a mask, come September, as long as we can have some semblance of being able to collaborate, have students collaborate with each other at a table or use equipment, in the classroom that they would use. I'll happily wear a mask. I don't love wearing the mask, but I'll do that if that's what it takes come September.
I agree. Like, I don't mind wearing it, but if that's what it takes, then so be it. It is what it is, So I know what I don't like. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I'm hoping that that goes away.
Right. Yep.
But I just we're in March 1st. We got the whole month of March. Then we got spring break, and then got a couple days off from from there on out. But we just gotta we're on the downhill now, and hoping that we can get through it and then refresh and recharge.
Yep.
And then find out what's going on for September. In August, because
that's the other thing. It would be nice to know maybe a little bit before, a few days before school starts, as to what the year is going to look like.
We'll have to compare notes on that, because the way things change so fast with everything, I'm expecting everything to be different from the beginning of August to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was this year, so
yeah. So
no doubt.
We'll see. Hang in there, though. I'm so glad that we talked about it today. I was really looking forward to having you on and having a frank discussion about mental health and everything. And what's funny too, to circle back, some teachers they go for a walk during lunchtime. They actually get out of the building, they get fresh air, or they walk inside the building, and they're just doing a 20-minute round through the building. So that even that little mental break is good sometimes to just recharge and refresh for the afternoon or for
Yeah.
the second part of your day too. So
Yeah, or even just going and sitting in your car and, listening to some music while you eat your lunch or something like that, is
yeah,
a good
that's
uh,
true too. I've done that too, just to sit in the car, roll down the window, and
yeah, little fresh air, little music, talk
yeah,
radio, whatever you want. But yeah, a good podcast.
yeah, there you go. Well, this
Um,
was awesome, Ron. Thanks
yeah,
for being on tonight. I
yeah,
really appreciate
absolutely.
it.
It was
It was
definitely my pleasure.
definitely a serious conversation. It's not really like how I like to do things on the Sweet Talk,
Right.
but I think it's one to be had, and that if our conversation can help somebody else, then we did justice, right?
Yeah,
We did
and
it.
I'm happy to open up myself if it helps somebody else.
Exactly. I feel the same way, so I appreciate your honesty and our
Yeah.
conversation, and we'll have to revisit to see how
Yes.
we feeling.
Yeah.
Maybe before school starts, we'll have to revisit, and we'll talk about it again, and see
Yeah.
how we did.
It would be interesting. It would be an interesting conversation to come back and revisit.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should. And plus it'll be cool to see what you got plans for this September
Yeah. Right.
and your STEM class.
Yeah, and we can talk. Maybe I'll have you doing stuff with the sustainable development goals. Then by then, you might be changing what you're doing.
Yeah, you have to fill me in on all that. So
I will, for sure.
all right, well, that wraps up the Sweet Talk for tonight. What I'm going to do is share my screen. All right, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay. So if you like to visit my website, it's thesweettalk.com. That's the SUITE talk.com. And on the homepage, you'll see the latest episode here and podcast. If you'd like to support my mission and become a sponsor, you can fill out the sponsor form and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Right now, I'm so proud to announce that Screencastify, GAT Labs, Cami, and Slides Mania are sponsors of the Sweet Talk. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, which I hope you do and help me pay it forward, you can fill out the guest form and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Right now, I'm scheduling for the middle of June. So you can fill out that form and you can pick any date you'd like. If you like to see any past episodes, you can go to the episode page here, and all the episodes that I recorded are listed here with the show notes and the YouTube link. As soon as it loads, it'll show all the episodes here, I promise. If you're using Jamboard, check out my Jamboard page here. There's a presentation here that I just updated that I did at the MassQ Summit or MassQ Conference in last month. So this is all updated here. If you like to share your lesson idea with me and help me pay it forward to help other teachers use Jamboard, you can share your idea here. You can check out my idea board for Jamboard. And if your idea is submitted, I will showcase it in the presentation along with these other great educators. So, and that's it. So with that being said, I'm going to go back and stop sharing my screen and see my friend Ron. All right, Ron. Well, that was awesome. Thank you for being on again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for opening up and having this conversation.
Same here. All right. Until next time, everyone. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.